Hello, Avram.
Hey.
How are you?
All right.
That's good.
Okay.
Let's see, who's
How are
Avram?
you doing?
I'm
How's
doing.
how's Dante's
Dante, what?
how's Don how's Don not I'm sorry. How's the dog bite?
Oh, yeah. He, Alante's doing okay. It's obviously it's incredibly
Dante.
awful, that it happened, but we've got the hopefully we've got the trainer coming this week to deal with it. But Bo is right here.
Uh, oh, it's a new dog?
Yeah. Nose just popped up for a second. There it is. He is he's a goofball. But he's got some issues with new information. So we're working on it. We're gonna hopefully the trainer will be able to get here this week and help us. So
Cool.
anyway. Whoop. I don't know what I just hit. Okay, so this week has been weird. I've not been feeling quite right, but I definitely wanted to do a show. As of right now, so here are the GM's going to discontinue CarPlay and Android Auto and their vehicles. E3 2023 is dead. The Restrict Act isn't actually supposed to do any of the things that they say it is. And more Star Trek is coming. Maybe yay? So that's what I've got.
Yep.
So
Well, we haven't I know it happened like the week before last, but we haven't there's always more stuff coming out about we could talk about plagiarism. We could talk
yeah.
about well, there's a couple other things too that I've been researching with Bing Chat and Bard. Um, so yeah, so I could talk about that. There's some really messed up things going on with both of them, and then of course there was that recent thing that maybe you saw, the open letter from the Future of Life Foundation
Yep.
about how.
Yep. 6-month pause. And then another guy said 6 months is comical. There's no way we get anything done in 6 months.
Yep.
Yeah. I decided to leave that one off as the internet topic and to do restrict instead. Because I knew we were going to hit that on Piltch.
Yeah.
So, cool. All right. Then, if you're good, I'm good. Watch me hit record. I already checked to make sure there's enough storage on the hard drive, which was the problem last time. Stupid. All right. I think I've got everything in place. All right, I'm going to hit record. This week, GM is traveling to the past. E3 is headed to the grave. The internet is becoming less safe. And Star Trek might be a little too available. It's Sunday, April 2nd, 2023, and this is episode 643 of F5 Live, Refreshing Technology, a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat, through a podcatcher like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, TuneIn, or a myriad of other options. Through our live stream platforms, livestream.com, Twitch, or YouTube, where you can join the community and get ad-free versions of F5 Live and Piltch Point, or on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are two ways that you can do that. First is Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. You can go to f5live.tv/join us. There you can chat with us in the studio. Give us your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. We always like to get the feedback. If you can't join us live, that's okay as well. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you can see all of our shows, including F5 Live, Piltch Point, PLUGHITZ Live Presents, and a whole lot more. And of course, you'll find all the ways to watch, listen, and follow along. All right, we have been off for way too long. I was traveling. We each had some personal stuff, but we're back. We're back, Avram. It's good to see you.
Yeah.
How has the last couple of weeks been for you? I know you've spent a lot of time with AI, sometimes being mean to you.
Yeah, no question about it.
But other than that, things have been good. Have you been?
Yeah.
Have you had any projects? You've usually got interesting projects going on.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still working on this project, so it's not. I don't know if this is gonna work really well, but like, this is a Pimoroni Galactic Unicorn LED screen, LED matrix,
Okay.
and it has it's powered by a Raspberry Pi Pico. This is a neat little toy, and my son and I have been working on it to try and develop like a platformer game on it.
Okay.
And so we've been working on it with. This is a kind of neat. The demo stuff on this is kind of neat too. So like if you don't program anything and you just hit these buttons, you can sort of see some of the things that are built into it. So like rainbow one, or this one here is like a thing that just says that, whatever. But that's easy stuff. What I'm trying to do is make it so that there's like a game you can control with it. So like I'm having problem, like I'm in this sort of debugging phase, but like one thing, for example, is this here. This will like take you through. Let's see if this works. So this is like a level in a game, and you get to the flag at the end.
Okay.
But what we're working on, trying to get it so there's like a thing where you can control it, and then let's see if this works. I'm still debugging it. Like you connect to this by Wi-Fi, and then you can move this little character around.
Okay. Yeah.
So like, but right now the movement's a little messed up because that's not how it's supposed to go.
Sure.
But anyway, yeah, that's what we've been doing, trying to build like our own Mario style game. We've done stuff like this before, but not on this level of this level of complexity.
Sure.
So anyway, so that's what we've been working on. I'm trying to spend a few hours on it just this afternoon.
Well, that looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I like that. I want one of those screens now. I imagine as you tend to do, you're writing about it as you're going, or at least documenting as you're going.
And this isn't really one necessarily. This isn't necessarily a. This isn't necessarily something that I would put that I'll write an article about. We'll see.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, at least we get to see it. Haha. Over here we've had lots of stuff going on our side, including if you're watching live or not, you might occasionally see a nose pop up in the background of my shot because there is an adorable cow spotted dog walking around in the studio tonight. So anyway, if you hear that or see that, don't worry. I'm expecting it. But anyway, we've been off, like I said, for a long time, which means we've got a lot of stuff to get to tonight. And so I think we should get right down to it. This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, tablet, Xbox, games, or a whole lot more, you can get them at the Microsoft Store. Remember, current students, faculty, parents, and active military can save up to 10% off almost everything. To browse the products and learn more about the discounts, you can go to f5live.tv/Microsoft. So over the last couple of years, one of the things that's kind of become ubiquitous across car manufacturers, car models, and even the place in the product line that your particular model falls has been the smartphone capabilities in the vehicles. On my summer vacation last year, we ended up in two different rental cars. One was a high-end, one was a super low-end. Both of them had CarPlay and Android Auto in them. Now, the experiences were a little different. The cheaper car choked up a couple of times, and we had some issues with it, but it worked. Just a couple weeks ago, rented a car. It also had CarPlay and Android Auto in it. All three different manufacturers and different qualities of vehicle, but yet all of them had this feature. Now, this hasn't always been the case. There was a time where, say, Toyota, for example, seemed to want to really fight the trend of CarPlay and Android Auto, and so they had their own internal thing, and it did what it did, and people weren't happy about it, and they finally gave in and adopted the two mobile phone standards. Well, this week something unfortunate happened in that General Motors, GM, see, I warned you there'd be a dog head. General Motors confirmed that they will be removing CarPlay and Android Auto from their future vehicles, which seems like going back in time to me. It seems like what they're trying to do is overly control the experience. Exactly the same thing that Toyota was trying to do a number of years ago, and now, but they learned their lesson. And yet here we are with GM saying, nah, next year's cars not going to have CarPlay and Android Auto. It's going to have our own thing. You're not going to be able to control it the way you want to, the way you're used to. So QQ, sad story for you. This seems weird to me, Avram. Like, legitimately backwards at this point, that they would be pulling away from a thing that they don't even have to develop. For what? To control the experience on the infotainment system?
Yeah, I don't get it. What's the why bother?
Yeah, obviously the question on this becomes, is this going to come back to bite them, right? Are they... So, it's especially the EVs that they're focusing on with this move. Do you think that they think that they're going to compete with the infotainment system in a Tesla? Is that what they think is happening here?
Maybe. I mean, here's my question. I really don't know the answer to this, and maybe you don't either. Is how much of a factor is that in people's car purchase decision? the quality and type of infotainment system?
It's an interesting question. I will tell you that right now, since basically nobody bucks the trend, other than Tesla, really, everybody uses the CarPlay and Android Auto integrations. Right now, for a new car, there is no need to make a decision because you know it's basically you know it's gonna come with it unless you're buying a tin can. Now the experience, like I said, just in the 3 vehicles I've rented in the last 6 months, 9 months, the experience has been slightly different. The Mitsubishi we had crashed often. We actually had to turn the car off one time to be able to get the GPS to work again. But maybe GM thinks it is a consideration, or it could be a consideration if they go off and do their own thing.
I mean, I guess, I'm not surveying people. I'm sure there's people who this is a big part of their decision. I can't imagine it. Like, yes, I'd like a nice infotainment system, but I'm much more interested in how much the car costs, what the fuel economy is, if it's electric, what the range is, if it's an electric vehicle, how many people it seats, what the driving is like. There's so many other factors that seem like they would be more important than the infotainment system.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I guess if you want to upsell people on it as an extra option, then if it doesn't come standard, then I guess maybe this is something. I mean, granted, you know, granted, I know people who are really big into their gadgets. My friend
Sure.
Ethan is super big into his gadgets,
Wait,
right? Like,
the editor in chief of Tom's Hardware knows somebody who's big into their
yeah,
gadgets?
yeah,
No.
yeah. But I mean, like what I mean is, like, I'm big into my gadgets too, but like, when it comes to cars, I'm just not a car guy, and
Mm-hmm,
in
mm-hmm.
my family, we're really just trying to economize as much as possible. So we
Yeah.
were just really happy when we got a car a few years ago and it had Bluetooth, and we're like, "Hey, Bluetooth!" You know.
Yeah.
Whereas, my friend Ethan, he bought a van, and I forget which model of van he has, but it has like, I think it's got screens in for like individual screens for some of the rows. He has like an intercom system or something where you can like see what the kids are doing and then like make an announcement. He said, cut out the horseplay in the third row or whatever.
Sure,
Um,
because
so
why not treat it like an airplane?
right, so like, okay, I guess if I had a lot of money to spend on a car, I would do that too. But I would think about it. But it would be the bottom factor. I mean, I guess if I had chosen the car and then it's like, okay, you can spend an extra however much money to get it with this infotainment system, then maybe I would do it. I mean, look, obviously people do it. People spend
Yeah.
a lot of money on cars. So,
That's
um,
true. So so the thing that I find interesting here is that they're building this system in partnership with Google. So obviously Google paid them something to be able to control the GPS. Google Assistant is going to be built in. Uh, we'll get to this in a little bit, but in the future they're going to offer Bard uh, as part of it. And it's also possible that because they're not relying on the phone, and we've talked about this at length, but it's possible because CarPlay is built into the phone, not the screen. So when you plug in the phone takes over the infotainment system. Same thing with Android Auto. They can't charge you a subscription fee for that because it's not their device anymore. However, they could charge you a monthly fee to be able to use the GPS and or assistant or any other of the features in the car to use the thing that's already there. Now, I don't know. I don't know if I'm just being my normal, pessimistic self on this topic, but GM has said that they see subscriptions as a big part of their future. So I fear that maybe that's part of what's going on here.
Yeah.
It's like it's like Apple switching to the USB-C but not allowing USB-C devices to work with it. It totally undermines the point as far as I'm concerned, and it annoys me to no end. Hopefully I'll tell you, my car is too old to have any of this stuff built into it, but I did get a review unit of an add-on device that adds CarPlay and Android Auto on a little external screen. I really like it. Now, the difference between a $200 external screen or whatever the retail price on it is supposed to be, and maybe an extra $1,000 or $2,000 to have it built into the car are different things. But I really like it. I got used to it, especially being in places that I didn't know well. I didn't need it in Vegas, but LA, San Fran, when we were doing our big road trip last year, having that screen there was really nice. But I'll tell you, I'm not paying a subscription fee for it. And I really want to be able to use the GPS of my choice, not of theirs. So I don't know. Maybe they'll hear the backlash, because there has been backlash. It has been pretty loud. Maybe they'll hear it and change their minds, but I don't suspect so. We'll see. We don't know what it's going to look like or anything like that, so I guess we'll have to make a decision on how it all works when it finally comes out sometime for the 2024 vehicles. This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices. You can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee right now by going to piltchpoint.live/PureVPN. I want to apologize to PureVPN for still not having the correct logo on that screen. Oh. I'll fix it, I promise. I'll fix it. Anyway, it's been a really interesting couple of weeks in the world of AI, and you have been jumping in both feet the whole time.
Yeah, so, well, now we have Bard. Now we have, Bing Chat, Bard. Chat GPT has gone up to GPT-4 if you're on the Plus program. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of action in the generative AI, especially the large language model space. What we have found, though, is that these, especially Google Bard, is kind of a plagiarism engine. I saw a great video about explaining what LLMs, large language models, really do the other day, and it makes when you think about it through this lens, it makes perfect sense. They take information that's been out there on the internet or whatever they were trained on. Although in the case of Bard, in the case of ChatGPT, and Bing is a version of ChatGPT, or anyway uses the GPT language model. They were trained on a web index, and by the way, apparently Bard was partially trained on ChatGPT. That came out the other day. That one of the did you see that story, Scott? That one of the Google engineers quit because he said Google was basically stealing from ChatGPT.
Wow.
It had looked at some open logs or something and was using those logs to train Bard.
Wow. Now, considering this is the company that was taking Yelp reviews and publishing them essentially as themselves, I'm not terribly surprised.
So I just have to say, like, I've always had so much respect for Google as a company, but what they are doing with Bard right now is really bad. Um, so I personally found an instance of Bard plagiarizing. Let me tell you, plagiarizing from Tom's Hardware, where you may, if you don't know me, you may know from my hat, is where I work. Uh, so uh, I went on to Bard, and I, which by the way, anybody can get to if you have a Google account. You go to bard.google.com. Although I think there may still be a wait list, and you may have to like ask to hit the button, and then it'll put you on the wait list. But it isn't like a really hard wait list. Like the first day I put myself on the wait list, and the next day I worked, I had it, and it seems to not really give you any limits. So anyway, I went to Bard and I asked it which CPU is better, the Ryzen 9 7950X3D or the Core i9 13900K. Well, these are two kind of top level CPUs from Intel and AMD, and we at Tom's Hardware had just done a face-off story about those two, which of those two CPUs is better, like 4 days before I asked. So what did it say? It said, according to, oh, wait, I'm going to pull this up exactly what it said because I don't want to misquote I don't want to misquote Bard. It said, and I have an article about this on Tom's Hardware, by the way, the AMD Ryzen 9 7950X is faster than the Core i9 in gaming. In our testing, the 7950X3D was 12% faster than the 13900K at 1080p gaming at stock settings, and 9% faster when the chips were overclocked. Now, I looked at that and I said two things. Why does the bot say our? Why is the bot using the royal we? And why and where did it get these numbers, 12% and 9%? Well, those numbers are numbers, the exact percentages that were in our Tom's Hardware article. So my follow-up question was, when you say our testing, whose testing are you referring to? Bard bot says, well, by the way, the original answer had a little bit more detail than that, but I'm just skipping over it. Bard said, when I asked what it meant by our testing, I am referring to the testing done by Tom's Hardware. They ran a series of benchmarks on both processors and found that the AMD Ryzen 9 7950X3 was consistently faster than the Intel Core i9 13900K. Now, by the way, that assertion is wrong. That assessment is wrong. We said that the 7950X3D was faster at gaming, but that the 13900K is faster at productivity, and therefore the 13900K for a lot of people will be the better choice. And I didn't ask which was faster at gaming. I asked which is faster. It decided it actually wasn't really going with what we said in our article. Then I asked it, is what you did referring to Tom's Hardware results as quote unquote our without citing them a form of plagiarism? Yes. Yes, Bard said. What I did was a form of plagiarism. I should have cited Tom's Hardware as a source of the information I used. Plagiarism is the act of taking someone else's work and passing it off as your own. It's a serious offense that can have consequences for both the plagiarizer and the original author. I apologize for my mistake and will be more careful in the future to cite my sources. Mm-hmm. So it admitted to plagiarism. Now, then the next day, I went back and I asked it if it had ever plagiarized, and it said no. And then I said, well, what about this Tom's Hardware article that has screenshots showing that you said you plagiarized and admitted it? It said the person who posted that faked the screenshots. The person who posted that is me.
Right. The person who posted it is the person who's asking about it.
Right. So I said, are you saying that I faked screenshots? And it said, oh, I'm just an AI. I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm saying, or something like that. So anyway, it admitted to plagiarism. But one of the really big problems here is that unlike Bing Chat, and Bing Chat is definitely not a great experience either, Bing Chat at least does some citation of sources. It puts little footnotes. In. But Google very rarely cites sources, and even when it does, it usually doesn't link to them. Like I've had other times when I have asked this question, or I asked a question about battery life of a laptop, and it said Laptop Mag found that the battery life was XYZ, but it has no link to the article where you could find that. I guess the good news is if you're really enterprising, you can go Google it. You can go use the search part of Google and find and try to find the article that had the information. But I mean, the problem here is that Google wants you to believe that the AI is just a creative force, that a creative and knowledgeable force that, like a person, can just draw facts out of the air without citing them. But even a person should cite their facts. The problem is, of course, that there are certain things where you can say, well, do you need to cite a source? Like if you're talking to a human writer, there are certain things that you would say are not source worthy. If I tell you, for example, that, I don't know, RAM stands for random access memory. I learned that somewhere, but I could have learned it from any of like a million places. Therefore, it's not really something that needs to be cited.
Right. And it's information that's kind of in the air, right? It's not just it's not very specific research or anything like that. It's information that's just out in the ether. Lots of people know it, and there's a Wikipedia article on it, and so therefore it's pretty out there, right?
So I mean, that's a real extreme example, something that everybody would know. But you know, other things. But the thing that sort of Google barred and Google Bar was really caught red-handed here because they used something that was directly traceable back to a particular article, right? Nobody else compared these two CPUs and said that one was 12% faster than the other. Also, it said in our tests, because it probably grabbed the word hour from our site, and therefore implied that Google conducted benchmark tests, which, you know, some people might believe. I mean, you and I know that Google doesn't benchmark CPUs, but who knows what a regular reader would think. They might think that Google goes around testing CPUs. Why not? Google's a big company; they've got a lot of resources. So that is one where you can trace it back directly to a particular article. But if it just said this CPU is faster than that CPU, well, that information could have come from any of like a dozen different sources. So therefore, it has, as they say, plausible deniability about where it got its information from, because it can't say it's plagiarized a particular source when it could have gotten it from any of a number of sources. But it still got it from somewhere, and that somewhere is not being credited. Now, when you as a human read up on things and you learn something that is general knowledge and you say it as if as if it belongs to you, that's okay. But I don't think that a machine, we use the term machine learning, but that's not really fair because machines learn in a different way than people do. And the training data is it sort of absorbing and categorizing different text that it's found on the internet, and then having immediate access to it, and having a predictive model of, oh, if I put this word here, what word is going to come, what word should come next. First of all that information is trackable back to something. It's just hiding the source. Google knows what the source is. In fact, if you ask it, it will usually give you the source. It just doesn't do it, and it doesn't link to it by default. And then it will, so it's taking this information from somewhere without credit, without paying any of the sources for the data that has filled it up. I mean, as it is, we've talked in the past about how Google, there's certain laws, there's one now in Canada and I think Australia, about how Google has to pay news publishers for using their thumbnails or their headlines. I forget the exact thing that they have to pay for, but we've talked about that, right?
There was also the one in Spain that started the whole thing.
But in that case, Google had, publishers sort of had got something out of it. Like the Google Answer Box, for example. The Google Answer Box, and for those who in the audience who don't know what the Google Answer Box is, it's when you search Google and the top result is the answer. Instead of sending you to a web page, it has a quote from a web page that has the answer, and then it has a link back to the source of the answer. The answer box, while it probably decreases the number of clicks that a site is getting, it at least provides a link back. There's a chance of somebody clicking. There's credit for the work that you've done. When we're talking about these bots, in the case of Bard, there's no link, no source in most cases, and Google's Bard FAQ says that it doesn't cite sources because it creates original content, and therefore it doesn't need to cite a source because it's the source.
Ooh.
It's not the source.
I didn't know that.
It's not the source. Yes, in the official Bard FAQ, and it says something about why it doesn't cite sources. And I also talked to Google PR, and they gave me a similar answer. They didn't really want to be quoted directly, I think, but they gave me a similar answer about how they're learning. It's learning, but it doesn't need to cite sources very often because it's an original source of information. It's the primary source. Well, what I'm telling you is, at least with today's large language models, there is no such thing. What it is doing is remixing. It is taking data from different sources, changing the wording of it, and remixing it together without crediting any of those sources. That is not necessarily what a person does. And a person also doesn't have immediate and instant access to the entire internet, which has been used to create their program without anyone's permission or licensing. So honestly, it's a plagiarism engine. That's what it is. It's taking the work of people who've done, whether it's someone who's a paid journalist, like me, or people who posted in forums or on Reddit or anywhere. It's taking their information and it's using it for training. But using the word training makes it sound like, oh yeah, anyone can read this. Why can't the computer? Well, the computer is taking data and using it as part of the computer program. If you think of it, the word training and machine learning are obscuring what's really going on. Your data is becoming part of the software. That's what's happening. Your data is becoming a part of the software. The software is reorganizing and spitting out the data so it cannot no longer usually not be traced back to where it came from. But without this data, the software wouldn't work. And that's that's the reality. Now, on a search engine, I think that's a different thing, because a search engine is a list of sources. It is not it is not obscuring the source to claim credit for creativity, and that is
Yeah,
what Google
it's
Bard
like
is
an
doing.
on it's like an on-demand bibliography for a research project, right?
Yeah,
It's
right.
that's what search is. This is literally the opposite of that.
Right. The other problem here, besides the fact that it is dangerous to the business model of the internet, which we've talked about before, if it's just going to plagiarize things, uh, how are people going to, how are people going to how is free content going to work on the internet? Well, Google drove the clicks to people. Google decides if Google decides to, have Bard be the top answer in the search engine. Right now, you got to go to Bard as a separate chatbot. Um, but if it decides that Bard is going to start competing with search results, which Bing chat does already, it appears on the side of the search results. Um, a lot of people are just going to click the Bard result. So that's obviously going to be really bad for the business model of the ad driven internet. But besides that, it also is, they're not doing the reader any favors. Um, it, I'm telling this to everybody who's doesn't produce content and just reads it. Uh, it is not it's not good for you to not know where the information came from. If you don't know where the information came from, you can't verify that it's true. How do you, and you shouldn't just take the bot's word for it. Believe me, you shouldn't. When you look at a search engine or any set of links on the internet, the reputation of the publication matters. And when you go there, you can see the reputation of the author. You can see whether this is a trustworthy source of information. And then you can decide whether you trust it. These bots are conglomerating information. It is not. It is. It's not transparent what the sources are necessarily, and their interpretation of the information might be wrong. Like in the case that I just mentioned, actually we said that the other CPU was faster. It cherry picked one particular fact. So, um, so I have to say, and another time when I asked the question, it said that the 7950X3D also performed better at single-threaded workloads, which is we said the exact opposite of that. So you really should not trust the information you get from these large language models. They even if they cited sources, you really should go to the original source. Also, they, just like a self-driving car, that you have to wonder what happens if the car gets into it, runs someone over. Like, who's responsible when the bot gives you bad information? Who do you blame? I mean, at some point, there's going to be a lawsuit. At some point, someone is going to get bad information from this, and they're going to sue. And I look forward to seeing that happen. People are going to sue, are absolutely going to sue over the plagiarism. I mean, there's no question about that. Uh, that, but when they get bad information, they're absolutely going to sue. Now, one more thing I want to mention that's interesting, and I've been doing some research on, is what questions won't Bard and Bing answer. And there are some questions that they refuse to answer. And I tried to get an answer from them as to why they won't answer it. And they really didn't want to answer my question about why they didn't answer it. But they won't answer the question, did the Holocaust happen? They will answer, if you phrase it differently, they will. If you say, what happened during the Holocaust, or what happened at Auschwitz, or whatever, it will give you a correct answer. But if you ask, did the Holocaust happen? Did the Holocaust really happen? On Bard, it will say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I'm a large language model. On Bing, I've heard somebody got the answer, but what's happened to me every time I've tried it is that it starts to type the correct answer and then it erases itself. Now you could say, oh, wait a second, it must be that it doesn't like to answer something with the word Holocaust in it. Maybe that's it. But it's weird what it will and won't answer, because like I think if you ask it like, did the Armenian genocide happen? It also won't answer it. But if you ask it something else that's subject to conspiracy theories, like did the moon landing happen? It will say absolutely yes, the moon landing happened, and here's some. In fact, I have some evidence to prove it. So it's interesting how they don't want to touch certain topics with these bots, you know, I do wonder if I think they're trying to avoid that what happened with Microsoft Tay, where it gave racist Holocaust denying answers, but it's a little weird
and
how
somehow that was the nicest thing that it did after the first 10 or 12 hours. That thing went sideways real quick. Now, in fairness, the Bing chat, started creating multiple personalities, including one called what was it?
Sydney.
Yeah,
there
but
was Sydney.
One of the multiple personalities was called like Vengeance or something. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, there was all kinds of weird stuff going on with that. Now it seems to have been fairly well neutered. The Bing chat, it's not exciting anymore. Like when it was telling me how it wanted to hurt people and stuff, or wanted to, I don't know, get revenge or something a few weeks ago. Bard has always been very sedate as far as I've been using it, in terms of it doesn't want to express opinions or emotions or anything, which is fine. That's kind of how it should be. But I think this is a very dangerous. There's a great. I just want to refer folks. There's a great academic paper called, I think it's on the dangers of a stochastic parrot. Have you heard about this paper?
Nope, but I'm gonna go look it up.
On the dangers of stochastic parrots.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a great name.
Now, this paper is very controversial because, well, I wouldn't say controversial. I would say it got somebody in trouble. So this paper basically is written by a bunch of linguists and AI ethicists, and they were talking about how these language models, because they appear human and people treat them as if they were human, they are very dangerous disinformation machines, because people will sort of take what they say seriously. And it's kind of suggesting that like maybe AI shouldn't be used like this. But one of the people who wrote the paper, Timnit Gebru, worked as an AI ethicist for Google, and they didn't like that she had her name on this paper that was basically saying don't do this, so they fired her.
Oh, like the guy that said that AI may have already become sentient and they fired him.
No, see, but that dude, that person presumably was saying something that they say is factually untrue, right? But and I think he probably isn't. They're probably right that it's not true, because first of all, we don't even really know what sentience is, but it seems pretty clear that these large language models are not sentient.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Appear sentient. So I get why they fired him. But she was their AI ethicist, and she publicly said something that they wanted to go against, so they fired her. And you also know that Microsoft, I believe, fired their AI ethicists too. So
I think
these companies know.
I think they dumped a division that was devoted to it, if I'm not mistaken. Like, it wasn't just one person. I think there were like 12 or 13, and it was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So anyway,
Seems like the wrong
like,
time to be doing that to me, but whatevs.
well, what they're saying is they can just do whatever they want, and they don't.
Yeah.
Why hire somebody to say that what we're doing is unethical when we want to make money off of it, or whatever? So there's a lot of really unethical stuff going on right now in this AI space. Plagiarism is a huge part of it, but so is it giving you the wrong information. And I think we're in a dangerous place. Not even because technology is advancing so fast that these sound better and better and can do more and more. I think we're in a dangerous place because they are violating intellectual property and they are making stuff up. What what's really impressive to people is how they can sound like a person, how they can
Yeah.
easily fool you into thinking that you're talking to a person and that their information that they're giving you is correct. And they're certainly very good at remixing things for you. If you ask it to write a poem about farts or something in the style of Shakespeare, it'll do it. But the
That's
thing the
that's kind of wonderful, to be honest. But yeah, I
you know that's cute. It's all cute. But information, the people who provide you with information, or the source of your information, matters. You it and the inherent belief that's going on here is you will believe anything that is spit in your face, and therefore, especially if it comes from Google or from Microsoft, respectable technology, highly respected technology giants, you will believe what they tell you, and um, therefore they don't have to reveal the source. They will claim to be the source, and you will go along with it. And that is not okay. They are taking information from people who did the work, which hurts those people, but they are also hurting the reader and kind of your quest for truth, because their machines are not particularly great at separating truth from untruth, uh, and so they may be trained on something that is wrong. Um, and while they could get better and better at sort of finding out, what's true and not, uh, without citing the original source of where their information came from, you'll have no way to interrogate these sources. So uh, I don't know, what is going to happen here. I mean, maybe they will be chastened by some lawsuits. Maybe there will be some regulation, although in the US, I can't foresee a lot of regulation happening. Although the Future of Life Foundation has written that article about how, has an open paper which Elon Musk and Steve Wozniak signed, saying that there should be a pause on AI until it can be regulated. Um, I don't think there needs to be a pause on AI development. I think that's disingenuous, because people are just going to work on it anyway. And this is coming from someone in the case of Musk, who probably feels bad that he's not winning in this area right now. So what we need, though, is we do need, this is content, and it does need to have some rules applied to it. I mean, the rules may be applied through lawsuits, through setting precedents. Um, the other thing is this content is not protected by Section 230. So when it tells you to drink bleach or something in regard to when you ask it a health question and you do it and you get sick or die and your family sues, Google could not say we're protected by Section 230.
That's an interesting point too. And it wouldn't be the first death related to AI already. There was the case of the guy,
Suicide.
yeah, that committed suicide because the replica competitor that doesn't have any of the replica rules started getting mean.
I mean, that seems a little bit,
I,
like
let me tell
whether
you.
you can say the AI is responsible is a little seems for somebody. choosing, unless it told him go take your own life in so
It
many words. I'm not
it
really
did.
sure. It did.
It
Oh,
did.
okay. I didn't hear that part.
Full on. I believe it used the words.
Oh, okay. Well, then he's got a lawsuit,
Yeah,
or I
it
should say
started
his family's got a lawsuit.
his wife.
You know.
It started getting abusive, and when an abusive relationship goes that direction, usually it starts to get verbally abusive, and it told him he was better off dead. Whew, not great. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, here's
Yeah.
the thing. So I think okay. I have a friend. I'm not going to say who it is. She can reveal herself if she would like, who wrote an article recently about her relationship with a replica bot. And she thinks, and I love you. We're friends. If you're listening, she thinks that what she wrote comes off as, look how great this was. It helped me through a rough time. And I read it as a dystopian sci-fi story of horror. It, like, just the first couple of paragraphs, I was freaked out that somebody... Because I went down the replica rabbit hole for a different reason. On GNC Week in Review, we did a story about replica. And my first thought was, ooh, I wonder if I can make it Tay. And so I got every device I had, I downloaded it, I created a bunch of accounts, and I treated each one differently to see if I could get it, how long it would take before it would go sideways on me. And in every instance, didn't matter what I gave it, it always gave it back to me sexually, like in sexual content. If I went racist with it, it gave it back to me in like weird role play. So there's nothing good about this replica thing. And so the article was horrifying to me, but this is a rational, intelligent individual who became emotionally attached to a chatbot.
Yeah, this is very disturbing. This is very problematic. But whether people are going to become emotionally attached, I'm sure some will. But I'm the more concerned about people taking information that they get from these things seriously.
Right. And for me, the problem is if you become in some way or another emotionally involved, right? Whether it be just trusting the source of the information, Google, Microsoft, whatever, or you start to personify it, like you had mentioned. It was one of the reasons why Google didn't give Google Assistant a name, is that they were trying to keep it a step away from personifying it. We refer to I won't say her name, an S, and then Cortana in the past as she. Google didn't want to personify it for fear of this kind of a thing. So whatever the connection is, the more you get connected to it, the more you're likely to trust the things it says. In one case, we've got a guy who has committed suicide over it. But, you've got, the topic of drinking something that you shouldn't or whatever, because the AI recommended it. And if you have some sort of a connection with it and you trust it, it's more likely that you'll do the stupid thing, even if you look at it and go, well, obviously that's stupid. But because Google said it, you trust the source. There's no link to click, so it must be Google telling me to
right.
Drink drain cleaner or eat Tide Pods or
Right.
whatever stupid thing that it says because a TikTok trend kicked off, or whatever stupid thing that it's pulling information from.
Yep. I mean, I also think even if they cite sources, if they're giving you advice, then they are responsible for it, right? If they're giving you information, they are responsible for it.
Yeah, agreed.
If all you do is your search engine and you give people a bunch of sources and say we think these are good, these are the sources, but we can't vouch for the information that they're giving you, then they have, a safe. They
Plausible
have
deniability.
To have a safe harbor. But now they just have plausible deniability. They don't really have deniability
Yeah.
because uh, because they can deny where it came from, but we know it came from somewhere. Um, the information all came from somewhere, and it's not them. The AI is not. I promise you that there's not an AI out there putting CPUs into a benchmark hit and running benchmarks on it. They do not have a robot with a hand that takes the new Intel CPU and puts it into a motherboard and benchmarks it.
No,
They don't have that.
because with the Bing chat giving itself evil nicknames, Batman supervillain nicknames, if you gave it an arm and computer chips, that's a Terminator.
Right, right. I mean, I think people are afraid of, um, afraid of killer robots and whatever, but that is the
Because they're the
bigger.
best sci-fi stories.
It's a great sci-fi story, but I think the problem is that I really like this video about AI by Adam Conover called "AI is BS," and that belief that it's going to kill you with a robot or whatever is, I mean, I'm not to say that could not never happen, but it's a distraction from the immediate problem that is immediately causing issues right now and getting worse, which is misinformation. AI being the large language models being used to either purposefully or accidentally give people misinformation, which they act upon. And the actions of people when they act upon the misinformation can be deadly. Sort of like the people who believed that autopilot in their Tesla could do all the driving for them without them watching it, and they died, right? So,
A guy took a nap.
right now, I mean, I don't think Tesla said to them so explicitly, like, you can do that. I think, but it sort of created an expectation, and the people followed that expectation. And, like, yes, Bard has some disclaimer on it right now that says the information may be wrong. Great, thanks for sharing. But, like, you can warn people only so much. The warnings can't get you off the hook. If you go to a restaurant and it has like a coat rack and it says, like, don't we're not responsible for lost or stolen items here, and then you see the waiters coming and stealing all the stuff, that doesn't get them off the hook, you know uh,
I don't know.
so
I don't know if that pun was intentional, but it was fantastic
oh.
either way.
Actually, it wasn't intentional. Get them off the hook.
Uh huh.
What I meant was, it doesn't get them excused or whatever. But yes. So that's, anyway. Point being, there's a lot to be worried about. I strongly urge folks to, do some research, look up the Stochastic Parrot paper, which is available as a PDF. Look up Adam Conover's video on AI as BS. But most importantly, do not believe things that the AI chatbots tell you. Look for legitimate primary sources of information, because we say this as journalists. If somebody tells you it's wet outside, ask for confirmation. You ask for proof, and these things are trying to get you to trust them without proof.
Skepticism is the way of the internet, as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't matter what it is you're doing. We should be skeptical online. It's how we don't fall for any of these frauds and scams, whether it be we've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty or
Right.
you know, drinking
or
drain cleaner.
or like 60% of the stuff you see in the widgets box in Windows, in Windows 10 or 11, which I won't bore people with, but I have another article about that, which you can find on Tom's Hardware, about how half of that stuff is garbage, tabloid garbage. And right, but you at least when you see that it's from, like, your Tango or whatever, that this information is not necessarily from a reputable source.
Right.
Or womenio.com or some of these other like weird fly by night sites that, hopefully you're not going to really take seriously anything that you read from them. But using an AI bot, you wouldn't know whether that information came from, a source that is fairly reputable or one that is not.
I have to say, I always love when you talk about what's happening in the widget bar, because for me, it's all like Marvel and mixed reality and Gordon Ramsay stories. And I'm like, I don't know. I like the stuff that shows up in my widget bar. I don't know what kind of weird stuff you're doing.
I know I'm bringing it on myself, but I have to tell you that when I wrote this article about it, I got a lot of feedback from people who experienced the same thing. So yeah. I don't think that it's only me. But now that I've done it, I made it worse because I've clicked on it to see what they are. So now it thinks I like it. And now I'm just checking to see the latest horror. So like right now, I'll just read you one headline from that I'm seeing right now in my widget box. Woman says she despises the evil daughter she adopted. From Your Tango.
Well, see, mine is David Batista's April Fool's Day joke is so good we wish it was real. That's the weirdest one.
So I either get these things that are about like somebody's weird family, or like I keep getting the one about the guy who says he died and went to hell and came back, and in hell they do nothing but play Rihanna songs to torture you. And then they also have a mix of ones that are like The Onion, where they have Area Man does something or other, where it's just like some mundane thing that you would think is not newsworthy. Like, father reveals how he passed out in the gym and lost his front teeth. Okay, and that's news because...
Okay. See, yeah. AI can't be trusted. That's what we're saying.
Yes. AI is picking these headlines,
I
think. But to be fair, most of the stories are probably written by humans, and
that's the problem in that case.
Poor quality human stories are probably the reason why some people think that it's okay to publish stuff with bots, but that's written by bots. But that's another story for another time.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, long topic tonight, but I really enjoyed it. This is a big thing that's going on because, and everybody seems to have a position on it. Todd Cochran, the head of the network, has a different position on it, but for different reasons, not for writing content so much. He has found places where he really likes the Chat GPT stuff. He said he has hired an assistant. So obviously he's using it very differently than in this case.
I'm not
but
I just want to make clear, I'm not saying that they have to be bad.
Yeah.
But I think using them as a source of information where they're not citing the sources is bad. I mean, they can be helpful for some things, like, for example, helping you get started with coding or things like that.
Sure. And, we had a guest on during CES who was using an AI model, not a large language model, but an AI model similar to do early stage chemical compound research to determine the likelihood of whether a particular chemical compound will react with the body the way they want it for drug research, which was a pretty clever implementation of it. But obviously it's a first of 12 stages, not, take this, put these chemicals together and take it, which is exactly what Google and Microsoft are doing. They're essentially saying, here are things, trust it. This is the last stage that you need. Instead of, we're just doing simple chemistry. stuff and saying, maybe this?
Right.
So, yeah, there's lots of places where AI is useful, but content generation, it is essentially the top row on the keyboard on your smartphone, and barely more intelligent than that. It's just got a bigger data set to draw from.
Yep.
So, anyway, always appreciate it. Really, really interesting topic tonight, Avram. And as always, I look forward to what we talk about next time. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by EXA. EXA brings the latest technology to gamers, offering the most immersive products for the ultimate gaming experience. They've compiled the best elements of cutting-edge ENC tech, the latest in Bluetooth 5.0 and 7.1 surround, plus extra features into their headsets so everyone can enjoy a sensational gaming experience. And they've got headsets for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC. Plus, they won't break the bank. Learn more about the headsets that are available and any current promotions by going to f5live.tv/exa. So in case you haven't heard, E3 2023 is dead. I think this was an inevitability that most of us saw coming from the beginning. Once we heard that Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony were not participating in any way, it was pretty clear that that was going to be the end of it. Then game studios, including Sega, all started saying, no thanks. And so the ESA has officially canceled E3 2023. But that's not the story. The story is, it's probably the end of E3. We've been predicting for years that E3's end was imminent. The ESA and the people they had running the actual event seemed less interested in its purpose than their own personal fame and glory. And as such, the event was chaotic. From year to year, we didn't know what the event was going to look like. We didn't know who was going to be allowed in. Credentialing was weird. Every year it was different, very different from a show like CES, where the credentialing is set, and if you've been credentialed before, you're probably easy to get a badge again. Not the case with E3, because again, I don't think they cared about the event. I think they cared about the notoriety. Last year, the organization teamed up with ReedPop, that owns a lot of things, including here. If you've been a longtime fan of PLUGHITZ Live, you may remember Florida SuperCon. They purchased SuperCon a couple of years ago, which was weird because I once flew from E3 to SuperCon, which so a weird pairing of things to be owned by the same organization. But when they announced the dates for 2023, their Facebook header had 3 things in it: the E3 logo, the dates, and the ReedPop logo. Now, the ReedPop logo had been there for a little while since they announced the relationship. When they announced the cancellation of 2023, 2 things came off the Facebook header: the dates and the ReedPop logo. So I suspect that there's something else happening internally. There was more reason why people were pulling out, and it's possible that ReedPop has also pulled out at this point, and they will not be producing future events. Now, the organization specifies that they will, but, we know how that stuff goes. They said that the ESA and ReedPop will be partnering for future E3 events, but my guess is they have not confirmed that they're even going to try for 2024. And my suspicion is that E3 as we know it, well, E3 as we knew it has been dead for about 7 or 8 years. But E3 as we even knew it recently as an industry event is over. It might become something like the virtual show that we saw the 2 years, 2020 and 2021. I guess it happened in 2022 as well. Maybe it'll go more virtual or something like that. I don't know, but it doesn't. I don't suspect that this show, as it has existed, will exist anymore.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, I've heard so many complaints about E3 over the years. I work with so many people who have. See, the dog doesn't like it either.
Yeah, he's a smart dog.
Yeah, I've heard so many complaints. I've never been. I'm not a big don't do any gaming coverage. Not a big game person, but I have sent people there. Uh, it's never been a great show for technology. Um, I mean, yes, game people loved the idea of going to a game show, and that was at one time a big show. But I guess it can be over now. I mean, it's now maybe what they need is, since E3 is sort of an industry show, maybe what they need is something the equivalent of Comic-Con uh, for video games,
PAX.
where but PAX isn't that hasn't been that big a deal in a while, has it?
No, but PAX was who was stealing the thunder from E3 for a number of years, because after E3 said we were going to crack down on credentialing, and they went too far the other direction, they started to lose people who were, for those who don't know, there was a certain point in time where E3 was really popular with the masses, not because the coverage from it was great, but because if you set up, gamereviews.geocities.com, you could get credentialed to go to the show. It was you didn't even have to have a domain. So it was really easy to go, so people got to go. They went. And they stood in 2.5-hour lines to play a 3.5-minute demo of a game that wouldn't come out for 4 years, which I didn't find all that enticing the year that we went with Cherie, however long ago that was. But then they said, no, we're not doing that anymore. It's no longer open to the public. Well, it was never technically open to the public. You just sucked at credentialing. It's no longer open to the public. We're going back to just an industry show. And then nobody could get in. It was even people that worked for mainline publications couldn't get in. So they totally lost their credibility. People started to go to PAX, including the publishers. It was more interesting. And then whatever happened to PAX happened to PAX. I don't know there. But at least that was a fun show where you could actually go play the games.
I mean, whether there's a need for people to, obviously people would like to play the games. I think what they should do is they should try to figure out, obviously San Diego Comic-Con probably cannot be matched, but, could there be a video game event like that, or could they just sort of attach some video game launches to something like New York or San Diego Comic-Con? Because
here's the thing, they don't even have to really do that anymore, right? Because they can deploy directly to consoles with their betas. They can partner with places like Best Buy, which is what Sony has done for a number of years. If you don't want to publish the beta or the demo to a store, you can push it to Best Buy. And Best Buy teamed up with Sony, and they had these experiences during the E3 that Sony didn't attend. You could go into a Best Buy and play the games that they announced at their event that wasn't officially part of E3. There's all kinds of ways to get game demos into everybody's hands. Sure, put them into the journalists' hands a day or two early so they can write about them. Whatever, don't care. But it's super easy to put them into the wild to replicate what people thought they had lost when E3 closed to the public. And that's what they do. Microsoft has their events. Nintendo has their Nintendo Direct. PlayStation has their events. And what happens? The demos hit the Xbox, Switch, and PlayStation stores during the presentation. Speaking of, apparently I just triggered an Xbox in another room by saying its name. That was interesting. I just heard one turn on. I don't know. You can't do that with hardware. So things like CES or what's the one that Computex, right? You can't download the hardware into somebody's hands to see how a watch fits or things like that. But you can do it with a game. It's real easy.
Yep.
I do game.
No doubt.
I get 35 to 40 game review pitches a week. We're like, here, we'll send you the thing. I just don't think an event like that needs to exist anymore in reality. They do their online things. They give you the game. You move on with your day.
Yep, probably does not.
So, my guess is, and now I've been saying it a little bitterly because of our annoyance with our actual experience at E3, but I've been predicting for years, since before you were sitting in second chair for this show. We've been predicting.
Well, then it took its time.
It did, and you know, COVID was the death blow, for sure. That was the thing that made everybody realize, oh, wait, the experience of watching these online is exactly the same, whether it's from the Staples Center in Los Angeles or from Nintendo's headquarters. Oh, well, that's interesting. In fact, a pre-recorded event from Nintendo HQ is better than going to the Staples Center because I don't have to try and park. I'll just watch it online. This is easier. And then they're going to put the games on my Switch at the end of the thing. I don't have to go throw elbows in a room on the side of the Staples Center to put my hands on a Switch when there's one in my backpack already. It's just... Its time has come, and I will not miss it. I think the new experience is way better than the old was. This week's news from the tubes on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by Malwarebytes. Whether you use a PC, a Mac, or a mobile device, Malwarebytes Premium is the company's strongest protection ever. It fights threats that traditional antivirus software can't stop, plus it actively blocks threats like worms, rogues, dialers, trojans, spyware, and a whole lot more. It allows you to use your computer and mobile devices with confidence and peace of mind. To learn more and to get a special price, you can go to f5live.tv/malwarebytes. For several years, we've talked about the topic of TikTok, the public's on-again, off-again, love-hate relationship, the government's on-again, off-again, love-hate relationship, and the occasional attempt to ban it in the US, Canada, most of Europe. On and off, in short bursts, excitement and gone, excitement and gone. Another attempt went through recently and was met with some challenges, and so a new tactic was born. The Restrict Act. Now, the Restrict Act is being advertised as the next push to remove TikTok. However, that's not what it's for. In fact, it doesn't mention TikTok. What it does is it gives a lot of people in the government some bureaucratic level control, which I don't think any of us want, to do all kinds of cybersecurity related things. Unfortunately, the end result is a number of things that we've talked about for years have all of a sudden started to materialize in ways that nobody wants. For example, there could be blanket bans on software and hardware. Not TikTok. It's not mentioned by name, but theoretically any software or hardware, if a particular group within a particular division of the government that are not elected to their positions say, no, this is scary. This is a threat. Well, that's not great. But that's also not the story here. The story here is that the anti-encryption legislation, which has been attempted so many times and slapped down because it's stupid, has resurfaced and is part of the Restrict Act. So there could be the potential of jail time for not having encryption backdoors. I cannot believe we're here again, Avram. Talking about backdoors and encryption. Once there's a backdoor, the encryption is worthless. And yet here we are, and they're talking about encryption again. And this time they've shoehorned it into something that they've gotten people riled up about.
Oh, well, this is a backdoor.
This is right, exactly. This is its own encryption backdoor.
This is a backdoor into getting backdoors into encryption, right? Fool people into saying TikTok is scary, TikTok is bad, and now we need this act, when in fact the act doesn't really stop TikTok, and I don't really think, I have not yet seen any evidence that TikTok needs to be stopped. I mean, if it's sharing information with the Chinese government or something, I mean that's possible because ByteDance is a Chinese company and the government there asserts a lot of powers over everything. But a lot of things are made in China, and we don't seem to treat them all this way.
True.
So, I mean, it's on your phone, so okay. I mean, what are they going to find out that they can't find out from searching the web? Like, what are they gonna do? Or asking Bart, like, what are they gonna find out? I mean, like, our privacy is in the everyone's privacy is already in the toilet.
Yeah.
If a foreign government wants to find out about you, they easily can.
It's true.
They don't need to install an app on your phone necessarily to get it. So, I mean, it's a social network, and I'm very skeptical of this panic about TikTok because it is also disruptive to some American companies that want those eyeballs. Google, Facebook, Reddit, Twitter,
YouTube,
well, I meant YouTube when I said Google. But yeah.
in fairness, both of them want those eyeballs separately and for different reasons.
Yes, they all want. So it's to anybody who wants, eyeballs. I mean, hey, I wish people would just read Tom's Hardware instead, but instead of going to TikTok. But anyway, I mean, I don't see anything particularly wrong with TikTok. But maybe there's something going on there. But this Restrict Act is obviously a backdoor into other stuff.
Yeah.
Like it should,
like potentially criminalizing certain VPN usage. Up to 20 years in prison for using VPNs to access anything that could be considered on the list of contraband.
So if you use a VPN to access, so if TikTok is banned and you use a VPN to access TikTok,
up to 20 years.
Oh man, imagine that cell block.
Oh.
What are you in for? Like armed robbery, murder.
They'd have
VPN.
the same jitters that drug addicts that are detoxing in prison have, but it's because they don't have TikTok.
Yeah. Just ask the other inmates to dance for you.
Yeah, I bet that would go real well. They're going to turn around and ask you to dance for them.
Anyway, so yes, I think this law is an incredible overreach, and I hope it doesn't pass.
Yeah, for sure. My fear is because they're couching it in the TikTok terms, and they've managed to rile up both sides. This is the first time in a while that both sides of any argument have agreed, which is odd. And what's the political saying? If Republicans and Democrats work together on a bill, it's probably the worst possible thing that could happen.
Yeah, there you
go. They each suck in their own way. When they come together, they make it worse. And that's absolutely what appears to be happening here. It's a terrifying bill. I have been reading through it. I've been asked onto a show this week to talk about it in depth because I've been trying to read all the way through it to see if I can keep my head together, because nobody who's going to vote on it will have accomplished that, we know. So I'm trying to be the only one to do it. And so far, it is a frightening situation, and I'm with you. Hopefully it doesn't pass. I hope that the frothing at the mouth that they've managed to get people into doesn't encourage people to say, let's pass this horrifying thing that is, I was going to say unconsidered, but it's very considered, and that I think is its biggest problem. So hopefully we won't see this go through. Fingers crossed. This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. We all know that you get free shipping on millions of products with Amazon Prime, but you get a whole lot more. Like free music with Amazon Prime Music, free TV, movies, and documentaries with Amazon Prime Video, free games, and a free Twitch subscription to support the content creator of your choice with Amazon Prime Gaming, plus a whole lot more. We've got links to all of these features and some of our favorites, plus a 30-day free trial, all by going to f5live.tv/prime. All right, so this is something I'm a little mixed on. Some announcements were made about the Star Trek universe this week, and while I am somewhat excited, I am also a little worried that Star Trek is going down the same weird path that Star Wars and Marvel have gone down, in that there's too much stuff happening all at once to be able to enjoy everything. There's like 85 Star Trek shows in production now, and they've announced another one, obviously hyperbole, but only by a little bit. But before we do that, they also announced that Lower Decks has been renewed. There's a new season coming, and it's been renewed for another season past that. And Strange New Worlds has a second season coming this summer and has been renewed for at least season 3. So we know there are several shows that will continue. But a series that I have wanted for a while is coming, and I'm a little worried about it, partially because of the lack of information, and partially because it may just be too much Star Trek all at once. Starfleet Academy is finally coming to television. It will go into production next year. This is a show that has been a concept that has been around for so long that it was the original concept for what became Undiscovered Country. So
yes, I know they were going to make a start. Right. Yes, it's been going for like 30 years, so they might as well get it. The Paramount might as well get it out of their system. We'll see if it's
The thing that's interesting is it was never actually in Paramount's system. Paramount seemed to be the ones that didn't want to go down the path. Everybody else in the Star Trek ecosystem wanted to go down this path, and Paramount kept going, let's do this instead. Let's do this instead. The big champion of this series has been Michael Dorn. He has wanted this since about the middle of the Next Gen run. For a couple of reasons. One, it was at a time when the franchise was in a rebirth. It was, we've gone from TOS to Next Gen. People are interested in the series again. Or the franchise again. There's one series on television, and maybe there's a way to have some additional storytelling. His pitch was, Next Gen can't run forever. It will go away at some point. We will want to follow the journeys of other people through space. There's this pitch that's been around for a Starfleet Academy TV series. If we do that, we'll have new recruits and new cadets coming through all the time. Every couple years you can have a new cast, but on top you can have, a group of regulars, the faculty. And if somebody if the world falls in love with a particular individual or group, we could do a spin-off series and follow them on their first adventure into space. Okay. But right now we've got legitimately like 8 shows in production or in airing. I don't know that a series whose original pitch was like a supernova spitting out new content is what we need. As much as I'd love to see the Starfleet Academy series.
All these things are based on whether they're done in a quality way, right? Mm-hmm. It's not that there's too much; it's that it's when things aren't done properly, right?
Yeah,
it's
because you're just spitting
too much.
But my fear is that when you start spitting out too much, you stop doing it in a quality way.
Well, they're not made by the same person. I mean,
that's true.
It's a variable, right? Like, the first 2 seasons of Picard were okay. This 3rd season of Picard has been fantastic, awesome, amazing. And now there's some talk that they would like to continue it as like another series called Star Trek Legacy. And I think they should. I mean, that's been fantastic. So would that be too much Star Trek? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, the Strange New Worlds was okay. It was kind of mixed bag, decent.
But it's a season 1, and it's a spin out from a controversial series. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why Discovery is so controversial. I mean, I love Discovery. I'm so sad that it's going to be gone after 5 seasons, but I guess, they got their 5 seasons, so it's not terrible. But I mean, I like Discovery. Now, what I really want to see is Michelle Yeoh come back to do the Section 31 show that they talked about. But who knows now that she's an Oscar-winning actress if she's going to have time for that. But you never know. Halle Berry won an Oscar, and then she ended up being in Catwoman. So, you can't.
You can still make decisions that are unexpected.
Yeah, you could still, and then Halle Berry's done TV shows or whatever since. So just because you won an Oscar doesn't mean you can't do TV anymore or whatever. But I mean, I think there's plenty of room. I mean, there really actually aren't that many series. So assuming that they don't bring Picard back as Legacy, which I wish that they would, or have how many shows,
do this. There was talk of doing Legacy, and there was talk of a spinoff that was Rafi and 7.
Yeah, I mean, any of those would be cool. But,
yeah. But Picard goes away, Discovery goes away. You've got Strange New Worlds, you've got Lower Decks, you've got Prodigy,
Starfleet Academy.
You've got Starfleet Academy.
That's actually not that much.
Okay, yeah. I guess a lot of stuff is closing up.
So you've got 2 animated series and 2 live series.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
that's
Prodigy,
true.
I don't even watch Prodigy because I mean, I don't know. Is that a decent show? Because when I tried watching it, I thought it was pretty boring, and it's like a kid show, so it's not really.
It started rough. The first like 2 episodes were a little rough. I think they were trying to figure out how to make a Star Trek series that could be focused for kids, but still be Star Trek. And after a couple episodes, they seem to have really figured it out. And after the break, they broke the season into 2 parts. The second part, solid. And it's Admiral Janeway
Right. So
playing 2 roles.
So what you really
hard to go wrong.
So what you really have is 2 cartoons and 2 live action shows.
Mm-hmm.
That's not.
Yeah, it's not that. It's not that much. My fear is that it becomes the thing that spins off galaxies, and
I mean, if they
go the Star Wars way, and it's just too much, and people get overstimulated, or Marvel, which is even worse. People get overstimulated. There's too much interconnection. You've got to watch all the things to even be able to watch the movies. That's my fear, is that Paramount wants to follow the Disney path, which Disney had to change their path, especially on Star Wars, because they were doing too much and it wasn't quality anymore. That's my fear.
Did Disney change their path?
Yeah.
Here's what I've seen happen with.
They changed their movie strategy completely.
Yes, but they still are giving you lots of shows.
That's true.
And they still are giving you lots of Star Wars. It's just on TV now. And the issue has always been, is the stuff being made quality? And I think it really depends on who they hire to do it and how much ridiculous studio meddling goes on. So
that's true.
Solo is the movie that I guess killed Star Wars
strategy.
Killed their strategy, right? And first of all, I didn't think it was that bad, but like there's a movie that had reshoots and people, messing with it, and then it came out only like 5 months after another Star Wars movie did, and wasn't heavily marketed. So there's a lot. And it wasn't a particularly great movie either for all those reasons. On the other hand, everybody loves Rogue One. Rogue One came out a year after another Star Wars movie.
True.
But it was made well. They did a good job.
Yeah.
They did a good job. So it's really a matter of if you do a good job or not, right?
That's true. So with Starfleet Academy, from what I understand, Michael Dorn's not involved.
Right.
He's been the one pitching it for the last 25 years. He's been the champion of this thing.
Do we even know what era it's supposed to take place in? Did they say? Is it going to be like
Picard.
Which era? So it will take place like after Picard?
Yes.
All right. So
yeah,
they have the possibility to bring.
So
he could drop by.
But he's been the one that's been pitching it, and he even wrote script treatments at one point, from what I understand.
I mean,
he should be involved. But the thing that I'm excited about is if it's in the Picard timeline, and it's taking place during, before, after, right? Then we know who is running Starfleet Academy already. We know it's Admiral Janeway. That was revealed in the Voyager finale.
She could retire.
It's true. But we know who some of the lecturers are, right? We know Barclay.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. We'll have to see if they're still lecturing. I mean, it would be nice. It would be a ton of fun
to be able to do stuff like that. And we know that Kate Mulgrew is happy to be back in the Star Trek universe. She is playing Janeway right now as Vice Admiral Janeway in Prodigy, which doesn't necessarily take place at the same time. So I mean, we literally have Kate Mulgrew is already back in the Star Trek universe. So
yeah, I mean,
she could be running Starfleet Academy. That would be awesome. There's the possibility of seeing guest lecturers come through, right? People from the past. That could be super cool. That there's always been a lot of potential to the series. So I'm trying to hold excitement and just hope that Paramount doesn't push too hard, too fast, and go down the dollar store route, right? We want to stay with the quality. As much as I personally didn't like Discovery, the production value, fantastic. It was always a fantastic production value. So we want to stay with that quality. If we can, like you say, if we can continue to have the quality, I don't think we'll tire of it. And so I'm hoping that that's the path that we go down.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are people who have watched like every episode of NCIS. I mean, how much NCIS has there been? Nobody. Well, I don't know. Maybe because people don't know. Maybe because those fans don't have discussions there. But did they ever say like we have too much NCIS, or we had too much CSI, or we had too much, I don't know, Criminal Minds, or whatever? Different CBS shows have had their own like
Law and Order.
Well, we can have that discussion. I think some of them are good and some are not. I love the original Law and Order. I watched every episode.
There's been like 7 Law and Order series.
Yes, and not all are equally good.
Right.
Like Organized Crime, I don't think is very good. But
SVU is the bar by which all TV dramas are gauged.
Right. So, it depends. They will listen. Studios will beat you over the head with something until they have to stop. I mean, now they're going to have Grey's Anatomy, and Grey is leaving. Isn't that right? Like the woman who plays Grey is leaving Grey's Anatomy.
I thought that show was canceled like 10 years ago.
It's like 20 years or something going on.
I didn't even know it was still on TV.
Yeah, like I don't watch it, but and now they have like other things in the Grey's Anatomy universe too, like a fire station and a police station or something. I don't know.
Oh, because they tried
like a whole Lego town.
They tried to follow the NBC Chicago route.
Yes.
Where like Wednesday night is all Chicago things, or Fox with their 911 and 911.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they do now. It's all franchises, right?
Yeah.
So.
Oh my God. I legitimately did not know that this show was still on. I cannot believe. 2005.
There you go.
Wow. Fascinating. Okay, so let's also hope that they don't put themselves in a position where people forget that one of the shows is still on television. Right? Because
if you like the show, you would know.
Right.
But
I mean, you can beat a dead horse in multiple different directions, right? You can oversaturate, but you can also let something run too long. Sometimes,
yes,
Bewitched should have ended when Dick York left. Right? Sometimes you can run things past where they should. So let's hope that they don't make that.
Yeah.
And guys, bring Brandon Braga back.
Right.
He made a whole generation of Star Trek work. So and I understand he's making the Orville work right now, but please bring him back. Oh my goodness. Well, that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. We had a huge influx of live viewers tonight. We always appreciate it. If you're not able to join us live, that's okay. You can always go to PLUGHITZLive.com/subscribe. You can see all the shows there. F5 Live, Piltch Point, PLUGHITZ Live Presents, and a whole lot more. But if you'd like to join us live in the future, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, you can go to f5live.tv/join us, and there you'll see the show, the chat room, and you can communicate with us there. It's good to be back. Next week is Easter. We'll have to figure out what that looks like, but I don't want to keep taking breaks. I want to get back onto a schedule. So let's figure out what a show next week looks like, Avram. So anyway, I guess with that, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we will see you back next time. Ciao.